So I want to pick up the thread of sort of where the religious impulse comes from for a lot of people, because I have a pet theory about this, and I'd love to run this by you. I tend to think that sort of at root, the reason why people are religious is it's not particularly because of how they read the Bible or any sacred scripture. It's not even really a set of beliefs. It's the rejection of the idea that it's just an accident that we're here. That I think that's just sort of intolerable for a lot of people. That it just like if circumstances were a little bit different, I wouldn't be here. I think the core idea is that there's some underlying purpose, and we were meant to be here. And just the idea that if you're just going to throw that out the window, that is just unacceptable. I think for most people, actually.
I agree with you completely. I would add one more impulse that is involved with the creation of religion, and that is the desire for immortality. It is just too upsetting for most people to think that this physical body is all there is. When I'm going to live my 77 years or whatever it is, and then I'm going to be no more. That is just a very grim thought for many people.
But it's not grim for you, I take it.
It's not grim for me, although I'm seeing more and more signs of my aging.
Well, let me ask you about that, because that's a really interesting question. You're in your mid-70s now, I know. Does the way you think about these questions, these existential questions about why we're here, meaning, has that changed at all for you as you've gotten older?
I think it has. I think when you get to be a certain age, you start seeing the full arc of your life. And if you haven't asked the question before, you ask, have I done anything that's worth anything? Am I going to leave anything behind? So you begin asking those questions.
And for you, how do you start to answer those questions?
Well, I've my children, one of whom is sitting right here, who has 2 children of her own. So that's a very precious way of leaving something behind. I'll have good friends. I hope that some of my books will last, but I would be very surprised if anything I've written is still here 100 years from now. So that's something. One of the things that you've asked me how have I come to terms with my mortality, and I think that I used to think that only things that were permanent had meaning, that things that lasted a long time. And I've come around to the belief that the moment is what matters. Like us, sitting here right now talking, this extraordinary, beautiful room, all of us right here are experiencing a moment. And I think that that's what matters, because nothing lasts. And if you don't at least appreciate the moment, then you don't have anything at all. And we're so caught up in the busy life that we lead that has been made more and more busy and frantic by the high-speed communication devices like our phones. We sometimes don't have the time to think about what's important, what our values are, and just experiencing the moment. We've all seen people walking in the forest looking at their phones, or at a restaurant looking at their phones. They're in hyperspace somewhere. They're nowhere. And at least we can be where we are at that moment, experiencing that moment. And I think that that's all there is.